and then he would just steam on with whatever cockamamie crazy idea he was expounding that day. You know, so really it was kind of fun in that respect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you were probably really, his perfect foil too.
I was. Yeah. Indeed.
Are you his older brother?
What's that?
Are you his older brother?
No, I'm his younger brother.
Oh, so it was even worse.
Even worse.
I get it. Even worse. Yeah, boy, an upstart.
Right.
Yeah, well, I agree with you. My wife accuses me of being kissed by the Blarney Stone, so I do know what you mean, and it seems to be a particularly quality of the Irish, I think.
Indeed. And he had it in spades, I used to tell him, you could get up there and read the phone book, and it wouldn't matter, because, it was the voice. I mean, people so enjoyed hearing this hypnotic, mesmerizing voice. It didn't have to make sense, it just had to sort of, kind of make sense, and people would listen mesmerized, and and I don't say this in a critical way. I say it in an admiring way. I mean, he really had the gift of Blarney. When you get to the more or less the dissection of what he's actually saying here, that's harder to nail down, and that's where, perhaps we come up against some more serious disagreements.
Yeah, right. Well, I'm going to take a break here, but yeah, that's very interesting. When I get back, I'd like to get an answer to this question, which is, was he as articulate before he took mushrooms as he was after? Don't answer. We'll get that right back. And I'm Jay Weidner, and we're listening to the Smoke and Mirrors Radio Hour. We're talking to the great Dennis McKenna, and we're going to get into some really interesting ethnobotany things. So hang on. We'll be right back. Welcome to the Monday night edition of the Smoke and Mirrors Radio Hour. My name is Jay Weidner, and you are listening. And we're talking to Dennis McKenna. I want to remind everyone that my new film, Infinity, is just coming out right now, and it's playing all over the United States and Canada. So just go to sacredmysteries.com and look for dates and things like that. If you want to talk to Dennis or to me, you can call us at our call-in number, which is 877-678-7234. That's 877-678-7234. And we are back. Well, Dennis, I'm sure you've been asked that question before. Did it have any effect on his linguistic ability, or was that just something that was an affectation of his studies and all of that?
No, I don't really think. I think he was already pretty articulate, but he felt that the mushrooms certainly helped him in that respect, and I don't know how much help he really needed, but he felt that they were a conduit to the Logos. And, I would agree. I mean, I think if you look at the way that these things are used in the traditional context, they are very much, the shaman in these cultures is as much a poet and an articulator of the sort of the gnosis of the group. And I do think that the mushrooms help to propagate that message. I mean, they do, certainly their effect is as much linguistic as anything else. So, so it's not, I think it's not that Terence wasn't articulate before. He was, but when he found these, he took to it like a duck to water, in a sense. I mean, he really sort of grokked what this was about. And, I don't know if you know, there's a classic essay called The Mushrooms of Language.
Oh, by Mum.
By Henry Munn. And I think
great.
I think that was first published in a classic work called I believe it was hallucinogens and shamanism. But I think Munn very well articulated, what the mushrooms were for these cultures, and they were basically a direct conduit to, the logos, in a sense, the collective wisdom of the group, and the shaman was able to access this and articulate it in a way that resonated with the rest of the tribe or the society or whatever. And what Terence does is not unlike that. That was part of his talent, was this, he was the articulator of our collective gnosis, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a little bit like Obama in a way, in that you read whatever it is that you have in your head in what he's saying. Mm-hmm. And everybody seems to you'll ask someone what they just heard Obama say, and everyone has a different idea of what they thought he was saying. And it's very strange. And Terence had that same ability where everyone would walk away and you could spend 5 hours arguing over exactly what it was he was saying, and no one would agree.
But everyone would walk away convinced that he was talking directly to them.
Yeah, exactly.
I always told him he should have put his hat in the ring. The guy, could have been president if he wanted to, but in a way, I'm glad he didn't. The sacrifices you have to make in your integrity to go into something like that is maybe not something he was prepared to do, but I'll bet he would have been good at it.
He would have.
Lucky for us, he didn't.
Yes. I shudder to think what he would have done. Yeah. Well, we miss him. It's been a long time now.
Indeed, it has.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't agree with you that his memory is fading. I'm quite surprised. Well, he seems to have achieved this strange kind of immortality, in that he is a ghost of the net. And his words, his images are still out there, and people are still picking up on this. And even though, he's been gone for, it'll be 10 years in April since he passed away, and really his sort of the peak of his public visibility was mid-90s, but 15 years later, people are still downloading his talks and his lectures from the internet. Many of my students who had to have been in junior high school or even younger when he was out there in the public, but many of them have say his words have been a great influence, and a lot of the reason that they take my courses, they're hoping to get some of that old time religion, and and then they're maybe disappointed when they find I'm not the speaker that Terence was, but I make up for it in that hopefully I give them good information and lots of it to digest. That's kind of my approach.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, if you can't dazzle them with brilliance, baffle them with the other thing. I guess we can't say that.
Science.
On the radio.
Baffle them with science.
Yeah.
Right. Well. So, these things that are, I'm not really too interested in, we gotta go. We're gonna have a break. I'll come back and we'll get back into the difference between synthetic and organic psychedelics, and then I want to get into plant psychedelics and their strange chemical histories and things. Okay. We'll be right back. My name is Jay Weidner, and you're listening to Smoke and Mirrors Radio Hour, talking to Dennis McKenna, and we'll be right back.